I've read 35 books so far this year, and these are the 9 books that I consider 5 stars. First and foremost, we've got Remarkably Bright Creatures. I put reading this book off for so long. I have had it on my shelf for at least a year, and I guess I just didn't know what I was going into, and I was a little bit nervous that it would let me down because I'd waited so long to actually pick it up. However, it absolutely did not disappoint me. I loved this book. You can see how many times I annotated it as well. There was nothing about this book that I could fault. Next up, we have Our Infinite Fates. I really enjoyed this book. I wasn't really sure what I was going into. I had no idea what it was about when I started reading it. All I knew was that my best friend loved it, and so I was like, okay, if you liked it, I'm gonna probably love it too. I think because it shocked me with the plot twist at the end, it was immediately 5 stars. The Calendar Mums. I had no idea what I was going into when I read this book, and I'm so glad because it took me by complete surprise. This also was one of the first books I've read that was actually set in Australia, and I just loved it even more. I felt like I connected with it so much more because I could kind of gauge what places they were in. Next we have Cleo and Frank. I loved this book so much. I loved all of them, but look at the annotations in this book. I could not find a page that didn't have an annotatable quote on it. It was like the most perfectly crafted sentences. The writing by this author is just for me. I cannot wait to read more of this author's work. Next, we have the first book I read this year, A Man Called Ove. I have been putting this off for so long again because I just thought to myself, how am I going to relate to this middle-aged grumpy man? Like, I just don't think I'm going to get a vibe from this character. However, not the case. I was crying in public reading this. I just had no idea where it was going, and it was just so heartwarming, gut-wrenching. It made me feel everything. Next, I've got I Am Not Jessica Chen. I, again, had no idea what I was going into, but I'm so glad I went in blind because this was such a beautifully written book. I felt for every character in here. And the main character, I feel like I connected to her on a whole other level. Like, she was so relatable. Next up, I've got Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. So far, I've loved everything that Abby has ever written, so I'm hoping that continues. I've only ever read Part of Your World and Say You'll Remember Me, so fingers crossed the other 2 that I have on my shelf are just as good. The South Wind. I think this might be one of my favourite books of the year, and definitely my favourite MMC I think I've ever read about. I haven't read The North Wind. I did read The West Wind, loved it, but this South Wind, by far my favourite of the series so far, and I wish I could just reread that for the first time again because that MMC. And finally, I just finished this last night, The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. I cannot express to you, this is probably the funniest book I have ever read. I have never laughed out loud so hard to a book ever, and I was laughing from start to finish. This book had the perfect plot to comedy to romance tension ratio. It was so slow burn that I don't even feel like I got anything by the end of it, which makes me want the second book so much more. You need to read this book when it comes out. Oh my gosh.